The most alarming aspect of the event was just how normal the vast majority of the marches were.
Mainstream media is losing this war. My watchman on the wall, after months of smearing patriot protesters as far right, even Sky News had to make this stunning confession to their 7 million monthly viewers. So in this video, we're going to see what Sky News had to say, then the hypocrisy of some politicians and their selective justice, and finally, how we got here, so we know how to fight back.
It's quite possible that the person most taken aback by the huge turnout at yesterday's Unite the Kingdom demonstration was its organiser, the hard-right activist known as Tommy Robinson. 150,000 people crammed into central London, most carrying national flags, the Union Jack, the Cross of St George, even the Scottish saltire, protesting about immigration, about free speech, and about the decline of Christianity. There was some fearsome rhetoric, including from Elon Musk, who called for the overthrow of the British government. At the margins, there was some hooliganism. But I think that for those who oppose Robinson and his ilk,
you can just hear the disdain in his voice. But listen to what he says next.
The most alarming aspect of the event was just how normal the vast majority of the marches were. I spent an hour or two amongst them, and my own impression was that they were mostly the sort of people you'd meet in a country pub or in half-time queue for the loo at football or at a concert. There was a sprinkling of black and brown faces, and the event was brought to a close by a gospel group singing Jerusalem. All that must worry the traditional mass parties, Labour and Conservatives, now polling at less than 40% between them. They're draining support to parties like Reform and the Greens. And yet, a man recently out of jail, condemned as an extremist thug by most mainstream media outlets.
I love how he says most mainstream media, as if his own network hasn't said the same thing.
Can rally a demo the size of the entire population of Cambridge or Blackpool. A feat you couldn't imagine either Sir Keir Starmer or Kemi Badenoch pulling off anytime soon. Perhaps the people are sending us all a message. Let's see if anyone at Westminster's listening.
You might not ever hear an apology from any of these outlets for their lies and slander, but how refreshing to at least hear an attempt to fairly describe the men, women, and children who came out. They realize the movement is gathering steam. Nobody cares about being called racist for wanting Great Britain to be great. So their slander is coming to an end. Even Keir Starmer is going on about how much he loves flags. But that doesn't mean the fight is over. Some politicians are still holding on to the smear tactics and won't give up. Listen to Sadiq Khan. For Carnival, he said, "The world-famous Notting Hill Carnival returned to London, the heart of West London, this weekend. Londoners and visitors came together to celebrate our Caribbean communities. The streets were alive with music and joy, showing the best of our city and the power of culture to unite us." But for the Unite the Kingdom rally, he said, "My thanks go to all the officers policing protests today. Most protesters were peaceful, but a number of officers were assaulted and arrests have been made. Violence and attacking police officers is completely unacceptable." So Carnival gets framed as the best of London, but the Unite the Kingdom rally is framed as a mostly peaceful but violent protest. What do the numbers say? Carnival, with 528 arrests, 46 weapon possessions, 18 sexual offences. The Unite the Kingdom rally? Well, now it's at 24 arrests, 0 weapons, 0 sexual assaults. I'm sorry, 528 arrests is the best of London? So there are two problems here. Obviously, one is Sadiq's clear contempt for patriotism. But notice how easy it is to brush off crime as a minor blemish for some groups, yet for others, the same thing becomes the entire picture. Why is it that black culture events are celebrated no matter the crime, but anything English people do gets labelled as racist? Why is it that if your bike is stolen in London, nothing happens? But if you say that Mohammed liked little girls, which is true, the police are at your door quickly. That's a more structural problem. And to answer that, we need to look at when the rot was written into Britain's system. This didn't just come out of nowhere. It wasn't random. It was written into the system. And the man who did it was Tony Blair. Blair openly said he wanted to fundamentally change Britain, and he did, in these 4 catastrophic ways. So the 1998 Human Rights Act ripped justice out of God's hands and put it in man's hands. We imported a secular code from Europe to replace biblical justice. For example, under that act, someone can claim their right to family life, Article 8, to avoid deportation after committing a crime. In 2000, he set up the Equality and Human Rights Commission. They basically made identity politics law. So now it's not just about individuals, it's about protected characteristics, not the truth. In 2003, he removed Section 28, which had stopped schools from promoting homosexuality as a pretend family relationship. Once that was gone, the government started to disciple your children with secular humanism, not Christian morality. And in 2006, Blair pushed through the Racial and Religious Hatred Act. They were vague laws that turned offensive words into crimes. That's when police started caring more about your tweets than about your stolen phone. So don't be fooled. People like Sadiq Khan and the media only care about justice when it suits their narrative. This isn't about one mayor. It's structural. Our institutions, they've been discipled into cultural Marxism and secular humanism. And now we see the fruit. Inconsistent justice, selective outrage, and families silenced. So here's the bottom line. God calls fathers to lead our homes with biblical justice. As Leviticus 19:15 says, you shall do no injustice in court. You shall not be partial to the poor or defer to the great, but in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor. So lead your home in justice. Call out leaders when they fail to do so, and don't fear the labels. Be the prophet, priest, and king of your home, and let us raise a generation that follows Jesus instead of following this corrupt world.